Welcome to the Openminds Podcast, a space where we reflect on our emotions, our minds, and the way our experiences shape us and who we are today. This podcast is brought to you by mental health professionals who are dedicated to breaking through mental health challenges, looking at relationships, and also looking at developing our own personal growth through meaningful conversations and expert guidance. My name is Sakshi Kaur, your host for this podcast series, as well as a clinical therapist. And together we will navigate through the complexities of the human experience through perspective, knowledge, and understanding. Let's begin. Hi Shivanee, how are you?
I'm good, Sakshi. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for taking out the time to be here today and record this podcast for myself.
No, thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome.
I'm privileged.
Today's podcast is going to be based on, as we all know it, as PTSD, or it stands for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Absolutely.
Can I get you to start off a little bit about the awareness that this month has on PTSD, and also what does PTSD mean?
PTSD, as you rightly said, Sakshi, it is post-traumatic stress disorder,
Yeah.
right? So it is basically, when people undergo or when anybody undergoes any sort of trauma, like something terrifying, something petrifying, a specific incident, okay, which has left a mark in that person's life, and it can lead to a lot of discomfort in the normal life of a person, and that discomfort can show up in the form of maybe nightmares, intrusive
Flashbacks as well,
thoughts,
right?
flashbacks, and a lot of hypervigilance, heightened anxiety, and if I were to talk about it physically, then physically it can come out in the form of panic attacks.
Yes.
It can come out in the form of maybe the person just avoiding certain situations because those situations become triggers for that specific person.
And that just reminds me what you said, avoidance is a massive thing, right? When
Absolutely.
we experience trauma, and I've noticed this in my work with my clients as well, they tend to avoid those situations that once caused them that challenging time and that trauma.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to ask you a little bit about how PTSD differs from anxiety and depression.
PTSD, it does include anxiety and depression. So these are symptoms that you will see in people suffering with PTSD,
Of course, yeah.
right? However, PTSD is very specific to trauma. So, what people go through when they are suffering with PTSD would be, they would have trust issues. They would not be able to trust anybody easily.
Of course,
Their brains would be their brains would react very differently when it comes to the sense of safety, when it comes to the sense of danger, the protective mechanism.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of these extreme reactions that a person suffering with PTSD would have, along with depression and anxiety.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my next question follows on from actually this, what you just mentioned. Can we have PTSD without realizing we have it? And the reason why I ask this is because we're all exposed to the daily content that we see, like, the whole plane crash from Ahmedabad as well. So do you think we can have trauma without realizing we have it? Does that make sense?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. So yes, it is very unfortunate with whatever happened with the Ahmedabad crash, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, all those families of the deceased, they probably are so emotionally numb right now. They are not even realizing what has happened with them, because life just changed so suddenly.
Yeah.
And it is very, very tragic, where all those people were all ready and had some dreams and aspirations as they were going on to that flight.
Yeah.
And then, nobody thought, who thought that,
No.
they're just going to be gone. I mean, none of those families would have even dreamt that something so drastic is going to happen, right?
It's like we all get onto the flight hoping it will make a landing, and that flight never met its landing, which is absolutely devastating.
Absolutely. And so
Yeah.
this also creates, actually, Sakshi, I would like to add on, this also creates something called secondary trauma.
Okay.
So what secondary trauma is basically people who were not involved in that specific incident
directly, Okay.
right? But maybe they were family members, maybe they were witnesses, okay, maybe they were first responders, okay, and their brain just kind of absorbed that whole incident, and it created a lot of negative waves thereafter. So the brain cannot really differentiate between the trauma being direct or indirect.
Okay,
right? The emotional impact can be equally hard hitting.
Okay, and can the physical symptoms be the same as well? Like
Absolutely.
you mentioned, the panic attacks,
the panic attacks, the nightmares, the flashbacks, right? The people would be emotionally numb, right? And these PTSD symptoms, like they can actually carry on forever, and they can even show up after like a few months or a few years. They can just show up just suddenly due to maybe some triggering incident that happens in front of them, or maybe some other accident or some other air crash that may have happened. It can just come up for these families,
and that's again what leads to the avoidance of going onto flights, catching flights, or even I guess going onto a ferry or a boat or whatever it might be. It can manifest in lots of different areas.
Absolutely. I mean, you basically overall life just becomes a question mark for you.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
A big one.
A big one.
Yeah.
And you just feel that, is this what it is? This is what the value of human life is.
Yeah.
And this is it. Like 1 minute back, I was like exploring the world, and the next minute I'm out of it.
That's it. Yeah. And I think what we've been talking about, and I really want to add the element of social media.
Yes.
So how do you think, as a psychologist, how do you think social media impacts PTSD?
Constantly people are just talking about, oh my god, okay, now this has happened, now Israel has fired these missiles towards Iran, and now Iran is all ready to attack back. Or even with the Ahmedabad crash, I mean, just look at the situation after that crash. How many flights got cancelled? How many flights actually took off and then they just landed again because of some small fault somewhere in the aircraft? So many questions were raised, so many eyebrows were raised. So it has created a panic in the whole aviation industry, right? It has created a panic, even all over globally. So be it that incident, be it this situation with the war that is going on, it has just created so much distress in people. People are just doubting whether they should even get out of their comfort zone, whether they should travel. Is it going to be safe? And also now the question arises, what about all the children, in schools, in nurseries? I mean, what sort of impact is this having on them? Because I'm sure they must be witnessing all the conversations happening at home about the situation, right? Somewhere.
Hearing their families, parents.
Absolutely. They may even be connected to some of these people who have suffered, right? And how are they reacting? What is happening with them? Because they are still in this phase of developing emotionally, mentally. What sort of an impact is this having on them?
And what sort of symptoms do we see within children? Is it sort of similar to the ones you mentioned? And we'll talk about it in a bit more depth as well.
Sure. So children, definitely nightmares, right? That fear of anything, any sort of accident that they may watch on TV, or anything that they watch on TV that may create some sort of distress in them, right? And they start imagining things, because the imagination of children can run really wild.
Of course, absolutely. More than us adults.
Absolutely. And that imagination can actually get quite dangerous for them, if you go to see. And then the way they perceive danger, the way they perceive the sense of safety. The way their brains get wired towards, are they now safe, or they are just in survival mode? And the disassociation that they may feel, the detachment that they may feel.
That disconnect, isn't it?
That disconnect. And that is what I think, right now, very sadly, the children in Gaza, the children in Syria, all these countries that are going through constant situations of war, constant situations of distress. For them, they don't even know what the meaning of safety is, probably.
No,
for them,
they're constantly in that survival mode, right?
They're constantly in that survival mode, and this is where comes up the complex PTSD, the complex post-traumatic stress disorder, where the trauma is just ongoing. It's just ongoing, and they're just experiencing it again and again and again. Hence, for them, that becomes a norm.
Okay. So complex PTSD and PTSD differs in the sense that complex PTSD it's very recurrent.
Absolutely, it's
and how recurrent is it, or how frequent would you say it has to be for it to classify as complex PTSD?
So it basically I can classify it with incidents that would involve violence, domestic violence, war, right? So all these things that children may be experiencing in their childhood, emotional abuse.
So when it's constantly happening, and it doesn't have to have a frequency of twice a month or whatever.
No,
it's just
constantly rolling.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so the child's mind is perceiving, for the child, they don't even, as I just said, they don't know what the sense of safety means, right?
Yeah.
For them, probably, okay, if they did not see a bomb blast one day and they had maybe one meal in a day, okay, then that is okay, they are in a better space, so they are safe.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So they obviously don't know what they are going through. Yeah. And the impact of those symptoms just remain for life. Even if they come into a better space, they are not able to get out of that past moment.
Yeah. And
that just remains with them.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's like a wound. It's like a wound that they are carrying in their heart forever. And now the whole process of healing is like a whole different story altogether, right?
And we'll touch on that as well in a little
100%.
while. So I think just to summarize for our listeners, so it seems like PTSD is generally a single incident event, and complex PTSD is multiple events that have caused trauma. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. The impact.
Impact. Yeah, of course.
And of course, it would it would be if people can actually go and seek some help, maybe through support groups or maybe through some mental health professionals, just so that they are able to gain that awareness
of
what is happening with them.
And I think that's the biggest thing as well, right? Once you have an awareness and you know what's going on for you, you're more than likely to seek that help or move towards it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. For example, now I have just initiated running support groups at Openminds.
That's brilliant. Yes, that's
for
amazing.
People who have got impacted by the Ahmedabad air crash. Now, not necessary that these people have to be directly related to these families. Right? These people, they may, as we spoke about secondary trauma. Right? They may be just, going through something called like a survivor's guilt. Or they may have developed a sudden fear of flying. Or, I know a lot of people who are already very scared of flying.
I completely hear you. Even one of my clients, they said to me they feel guilty for flying.
Absolutely.
And they feel guilty for posting on their socials that I'm on holiday when they know what happened to those people on that plane. And I think there was only one survivor, right?
Yes, there was only one survivor.
That's absolutely.
And that was like a miracle.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's horrible.
It's horrible. So we are running support groups, just to help
when are they
these
held?
people.
Do you mind?
Yeah, sure. It's going to be, so we have scheduled for every Thursday. We start at 6 p.m. in the evening. Okay, and we run it till 7:30. So we have scheduled it for tomorrow, which is today. Tomorrow, which is Thursday, and the next Thursday as well, which is I think the 3rd of July.
Yeah, so that's the 26th of June and then the 3rd of July.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And anyone can attend?
Anyone can attend.
Any
it is free of charge.
Restrictions?
Age restrictions from adolescence onwards.
Sure.
Okay, because for children, obviously, the whole approach is, going to be very different. But from adolescence onwards, yes, anyone can attend, and it's free of charge for 1.5 hours, and you actually meet people, like-minded people who may be going through something similar, and it just gives you this sense of, it actually just makes you feel so much more included.
Absolutely, and I was just going to say it normalizes their experience.
Absolutely.
I don't even like using the word normal, but I'm just going to say usual. I guess it just kind of, makes everyone feel like they're not the only one.
They're not the only one.
And there are other people who are struggling with this news. Because even when I heard of this news, even I was just very shocked by it, and it did impact me, to be completely honest with you. So I completely understand. It's important for people to come out and seek that help where, you're hosting these support groups. And I think that's a really incredible initiative.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No, you're very welcome. The next part I want to really speak about is the recovery, the stigma, and the support. Can we heal from PTSD?
Yes, we can heal from PTSD for sure, but the process is not linear.
No, of course.
It is going to go up and down.
Anything.
It is going to go up and down. Acknowledging accepting
Yes.
that the person is going through something,
Yeah.
right? Allowing yourself to go through it,
Yeah.
right? Allowing yourself to actually feel the way you're feeling.
And sitting with those feelings, it's so important. Isn't
Absolutely.
it? If you kind of avoid, like we spoke about avoidance, if we avoid those feelings and kind of
Yes.
deny it's happening to us, it becomes a lot harder to
Absolutely.
cope with and deal with, isn't it?
That's what. So just, not dismissing how you're feeling.
Yeah.
That, I'm feeling this, but it's okay. I'll get over it. No. I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling different. I feel there's a change in me. I'm feeling low. And it's okay.
And that's okay, and accepting
okay.
it, right? It's
Absolutely.
just feeding those particular thoughts and statements to your own self.
Towards your own self, right? And once that happens, that's where then the journey of healing begins.
It creates that gateway, right?
It creates
It
that.
opens that path for you, it opens that door for you.
Absolutely. I think the other important thing that we need to realize is that healing does not mean forgetting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, you're not forgetting that incident.
And we're not supposed to, right?
Right.
Because it makes us a part of who we are today.
Yeah, it's not going to happen also.
No.
You cannot forget that we are humans.
Of course.
These are human emotions that are coming out in different ways, right? So we are not forgetting, we are just learning to walk with it.
Yeah.
We are just learning to acknowledge, we are learning to create a new safe space, okay, or rather reclaim a safe space for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right, with where we stay, okay, with that trauma.
Of course.
It does not have a fixed timeline.
No, there's no destination, right?
There's
It's
no
a journey.
destination, it's
Mental
a journey.
health and well-being is always a journey.
Grieving,
Yeah.
the importance of grieving, allowing yourself to grieve,
Yeah.
passing through those 5 stages,
Oh, grief is so
right, of
important,
grief.
yeah.
Your anger, your guilt, right, your negotiation,
Yeah.
right, your acceptance, right, and depression,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So these are the 5
That
stages.
intense low mood and depression.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's no fixed order to it.
Before we continue, let's take a moment to talk about mental well-being. At Openminds Centre, our dedicated team of professionals is here to support you, whether you are navigating stress, anxiety, relationship challenges, or personal growth. With expert psychiatrists, psychologists, and specialised therapists, we provide tailored care for adults, children, and families. From therapy sessions to mental health workshops, we're committed to helping you find balance and clarity. Openminds Centre is your space for healing and transformation. Book an appointment today and take the first step towards a healthier mind. Clear minds, healthy lives. Now, back to our conversation. The next thing I really want to ask you a little bit about is stigma. So why is there still stigma associated with PTSD? I know it's still there in terms of mental illnesses, but particularly in terms of PTSD, why is there a stigma associated with it, do you think?
I think when we talk about stigma, I think it is so related to culture.
Yes, that's
You
a
know?
big one. Yeah, absolutely.
So cultural stigma is such a big one, and it also then comes down to your upbringing, your values, that have been instilled in you. For example, there was something I wanted to mention that I missed mentioning earlier when we spoke about children, right, and how PTSD shows up in them. So there was one more point which I forgot to mention, which was regression. So children also experience regression, which equates to maybe bedwetting, or some sort of overactive behavior, hyperactive behavior,
as well,
impulsiveness,
yeah,
anger, right? Now, how are we validating that as parents? How are we understanding that journey as parents?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I were to look at it culturally, certain cultures, they want children to be very disciplined, very well behaved. The child cannot, at the age of 7, can't wet the bed. At the age of 8, the child should be so prim and proper, should be like so perfect.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, that's the culture I come from, but that's
Exactly.
what I've been brought up with. So
Yes.
I completely hear you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, those notions that we are living with, that itself totally cuts off, the acceptance of mental health challenges, and that's where the stigma takes birth.
Of course. Yes.
So it is all interrelated, right?
No, of course, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I think when you put it like that, it just reminds me of like, that's literally the cultural values I come from. But also I think what's really important is having the education awareness around it. The more we educate the younger generation, or even like the older generation, or like my generation, or whoever it might be, is so important. Creating that awareness and allowing people to understand what is PTSD.
But
Right.
Sakshi, tell me something. You just spoke about education and awareness, okay? And you come from that sort of a culture. Even I do.
Yeah.
But, there's something that I've always wondered, that if people are not willing to get educated, how do we educate them? There is so much of old
You're
school
right.
of thought that
No,
is
there
out
is.
there.
It is, but I think my answer to that would be educate them anyway. I think
Yeah.
when you drill the same message consistently, it's human nature. You will take that in, right?
Correct.
So I think that's the kind of motto I go by. Like, educate them anyway. Create the awareness anyway, because people will still take a second to stop and read.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
The next time they'll see it again, and they might take a little bit longer. They might take 2 seconds to read it. So I think for me, I agree with you, but for me, I just think spread the message anyways. Let's create that impactful education, all these resources that are out there.
Awareness. Yeah. I guess reinforcement is the key, isn't it?
It is, no, absolutely, absolutely. I think there are so many concepts that, like, maybe 5 years ago people didn't want to know about and were very narrow-minded.
Absolutely.
Not related to mental health, but just generally any concepts. But I think in terms of mental health, it's important we just educate regardless.
Absolutely. And then of course when it comes to healing, let's not forget, I mean, this is something I'm sure you would also be seeing with people around you, the grounding techniques that a lot of people are following nowadays. Yoga has become such a big thing. It's like such a holistic.
Can you just tell us a little about the grounding technique?
Sure.
Maybe can you give our viewers a quick grounding technique that they could practice or follow through?
Absolutely. I think that personally I have been doing a 5-minute meditation. I was never big into meditation, but just started doing it to bring my mind to peace and to bring myself closer to me. So a 5-minute meditation, there are so many beautiful videos on YouTube, and I actually started following them. I started doing them every morning, okay, with some positive affirmations. I know that this may sound like, that, okay, the usual saga, everyone's doing it, but I am telling you, it was magic. Just reassuring yourself that you're safe,
Yes.
you are in a good space, you're privileged, and also showing that gratitude that, you are in a good space and you don't have to go through what a lot of people have had to go through, right? Acknowledging that, and I think that in itself has just made me feel really safe and secure in my body. And apart from that, breathing. Breathing is like magic.
We take breathing for granted, right? We don't
Oh
even
my
realize.
God, it is amazing, and there is this specific breathing technique that I share with all my clients. It is the left nostril breathing, where, you literally just, you close your nose and you take in, you basically inhale for the count of 8. And you hold it for the count of 6. And then you let it out for the count of 8. And you do this 27 times in a day. You don't have to do it continuously, you can break it up, right? But this particular technique is categorized under Ayurveda, and it really helps with people who are suffering with anxiety and hypertension.
Another technique that we can also kind of just add into the mix as well is box breathing.
Oh yes, 100%.
Right? Super simple, but also effective.
The other thing it has helped me with, Sakshi, is focusing.
Exactly,
Just creating that focus,
Brilliant.
Staying in the moment and creating that focus, because many a times what happens, we are in the moment, but our mind is just all over the place.
Yeah.
Right? And that's when this whole disassociation and, disruptive thoughts, all of this comes in.
And the disconnect from what we're actually doing comes in, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So how do we bring ourselves back into the moment? Now see, obviously all of this, I know it sounds, very easy and fancy, and it's not that easy to do, but it is just about making that start. It is just, seriously guys, it's just about starting. The day you all start,
right?
just small changes, to your routine. And the day you start, you start with maybe 5 minutes. and you slowly increase the time as per your comfort. Just do what you are comfortable with, what works for you. And that's it. Only you can do this for yourself. Nobody else can do anything for you except you yourself. And that is a fact.
Thank you so much, Shivanee. I guess I also just want to touch on, if somebody, suspects that they or a loved one might be experiencing PTSD, what would you say the first step should be? What should be the first step that they could take?
Well, I would say, the first step would be communication. So somebody, familiar, somebody who they are trusting, because trust is such a big thing when it comes to PTSD and complex PTSD. Trust is a very huge factor in question, right? So somebody who they can trust, who they are comfortable with, who they are okay to talk to, could be a support group, could be a loved one, a friend, a family member, whoever. If they can just talk to that person about it. And even if they cannot talk, maybe they can write down the way they are feeling. That's a very, very beautiful way of letting out what is going on inside you.
Yes. Because sometimes you don't have always somebody trustworthy to speak to. So
exactly.
Actually having that outlet for expression, writing
right.
pen to paper. And I really believe, get a pen and get a piece of paper. Don't type it away, because it's not mindful, is it?
Totally. It's not mindful. Yeah. And, there are a lot of other indirect ways of creating those outlets. Like there's art, you basically, you
creative
just...
therapy,
creative therapy. There's... there are different kind of sports, there's workouts, there's, yoga, just basically sweating it out, right?
Yeah. And again, there are different outlets for expressions, right?
Absolutely, different outlets. But whatever agrees with you, whatever makes you feel good about yourself, and whatever makes you feel lighter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having this conversation with you, I'm just kind of thinking about, like some of the thoughts I've been having. And from some of the client work I do as well. So do you think it's fair to say that we're becoming emotionally numb, or do you feel like we're just quietly breaking down inside?
Sorry,
what would you say?
Sorry, pardon me, emotionally numb, or I didn't...
Or are we just quietly breaking down inside? What do you think is happening? Because this is something I hear quite often. I just think about it as well myself. Like,
so I think the aspect that we need to bring in here is mindfulness.
Yeah.
Right? So whatever we do, we are doing it mindfully. Right? Identifying the triggers, understanding the red flags, okay, maybe noting them down, maybe putting them on paper as we just spoke about it. And once we know what we are going through, then we start addressing them. So that to not be able to go into that zone of emotional numbness, as you called it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or disassociation, or breaking down inside, or suppressing.
Because that's the worst, right? When you suppress something,
because
it obviously
back. it becomes like a volcano,
yeah,
which can just bombard
erupt
and erupt at any point, right?
Yeah.
So to avoid that situation, this is where mindfulness has to be brought into the picture. This is where we need to get mindful of each and every thought that we are, we are experiencing in our mind. And this is what it means that we need to get closer to ourselves. We need to get closer to our mind, our body, and we need to not disregard what is going on in our body.
Yeah.
The red flags, they actually start with emotions in the body, like distress in the heart, butterflies in the stomach, chronic pains,
muscle
tension, IBS. IBS is such a big one. Digestion issues.
Yes,
people get these weird digestion issues when they are undergoing anxiety, right? So this is something that we need to notice. We need to understand that, okay, it's starting from here. We start noticing those patterns mindfully.
I think a lot of the times what happens when we experience these physical symptoms, people just tend to run to the doctors and not understanding that these physical symptoms are linked to the trauma that we've experienced.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time, Shivanee. And I just want to finish on just saying that, you don't have to hold your pain, but you just need to be heard. You need to feel safe. You need to feel at sound.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sakshi, for giving me this opportunity to create this awareness. And I really hope that whatever we both have spoken is going to help people who are going to be listening to, this podcast. Absolutely. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I have also got a lot of insight from you. So thank you so much.
From you as well. Thank you so much. If you found this podcast insightful or you enjoyed listening to it, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. for further conversations on everything mental health related with our professionals. If you need support, Open Minds is always here for you. See you in the next episode.